I don't know if I necessarily found the hobby, it found me, because I had some good friends who started just hounding me to join the team. I just kind of kept showing up. And as I continued to play, I started to see that they were a group of individuals who I deeply cared about.
What if you're not meant to find a hobby after graduation? What if it actually finds you? Alumni, we're continuing our side quest series as we explore how to spend our free time after graduation. So far, we found our free time can easily be spent in ways that are joyful, sustainable, and surprisingly significant, and hobbies are no different. This week, we're chatting with my good friend, Melissa LaFrance. Melissa is on staff with InterVarsity. She's an alumna, and she's a professional ultimate frisbee player. That is definitely a first for the podcast. Today, Melissa's going to share how she didn't have time to go searching for a hobby after graduation because it found her first. And it turned out to be a side quest that brought her a lot of life, a lot of friendship, and some amazing opportunities to share Jesus with people that she just never would have had access to otherwise. Welcome to After 4, your podcast for navigating life after graduation. I'm your host and guide, John Steele, and this one's for you, alum. Melissa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, John.
Absolutely. Melissa, I'm glad that you're here to join us for this conversation. It's always fun to hang out with a friend. All too often, I hang out with people I've never met before on this podcast, which is great. They're awesome guests, but it's a special treat to hang out with an old friend. So, Melissa, before we jump in, I have a question for you because I didn't ask you about this before. And that question is, are you still known for eating like whole green peppers like an apple as a morning snack? Is that still a thing that you do?
I forgot that I did that at one of our meetings multiple times.
I was going to say, not just one.
Probably many. Yes, but
okay.
I've switched to red and orange and yellow. Green is not my favorite. Yeah.
The other ones are just a little bit sweeter. The red
yes.
is, or the green is, yeah, it's not where it's at.
It has
all
a
right,
lot more
so you've
plant
switched.
Taste.
Yeah. Yes. Hence the green, I suppose. Anything green is just not quite so sweet and tasty usually. Okay, anyways, not related whatsoever to our conversation today, but I just had to ask if that was the case. Melissa, as I will have already shared in the intro, but I'll say it again. We were on staff together in the early days of our staff career, on campus together, I should say. We are still on staff together, but we were on campus together, which was a lot of fun. And you are somebody who has always had, from my perspective, always had like a helpful perspective on free time and how you like engage with life outside of maybe your 9 to 5. I mean, we're campus staff, so 9 to 5 isn't actually our work time, but whatever the work timeline stuff outside of that, I always felt like, man, Melissa's somebody that's got a good idea of how to spend her free time and to do it in a healthy way. And so that's what we're talking about in this series. Is we're calling it side quests, and it's like, what are we doing with our free time? What are we doing with that time outside of work? And one of the things that we're talking about, that you're joining us to talk about, is hobbies. Mm-hmm. And it maybe feels like, it could feel like a silly conversation to have. Like, okay, whatever, talk about hobbies with your friends. Don't spend a podcast episode on it. But I legitimately, I think life after graduation is a pivotal point for figuring some of these things out. And I think that hobbies are a helpful addition to a healthy rhythm of life. And you have a really unique experience with hobbies in that you now actually do something professionally that you did as what felt like more as a hobby. Maybe you never would have really classified it as a hobby, but something that people might typically engage with as a hobby. So Can you tell us just a little bit, tell us a story or give us a taste for what has your experience with hobbies been, especially incorporating them after graduation? And it can be inspiring or relatable, whatever you want to share. And then is there one thing that you wish you had known at that stage of life after graduation about incorporating hobbies into your regular life rhythms?
Yes. Well, I've always been an active individual. I was involved with multiple sports growing up. And I think that's just always been part of, like, movement has always been part of my life. And
yes.
It's given me joy. It's given me just a lot of different things. Like, to be honest, a lot of it is like mental health too. I can, on a hard day, there's nothing like pushing heavy weight or like running really fast. That just makes me be like, okay, I feel like a new human. Fantastic. I can breathe again.
Awesome. Yes.
And so when I was in college, I ran track spring semester of my freshman year and really didn't feel like that community was meant for me. And then this is where I feel like I don't know if I necessarily found the hobby of ultimate frisbee. I felt like it found me because I had some good friends who started just hounding me to join the team and to come to one practice. And so I agreed. I said, okay, I will come to one practice if you leave me alone. And I went to one practice and I kind of just didn't stop going because I couldn't throw the disc for anything, but I could run it down and I could catch it. And so I just kind of kept showing up, and I feel like the process for me was, as I continued to play, I started to see that they were a group of individuals who I deeply cared about, but we thought very differently on how to live out our lives. My faith was a very big part of my life, and it wasn't a part of a lot of my teammates' lives. And the Lord kind of started to change my heart. I think my junior year, if he put a verse, 1 Peter 4:8 on my heart when I thought about my teammates, which says, above all else, love each other deeply because love covers over a multitude of sins. And so I started to wrestle with this question of, okay, Lord, if I have this hobby that I actually really enjoy, I'm kind of getting good at it. How do you want me to pursue this? And I was still wrestling that with it when I graduated. And before I graduated, a friend of mine said, hey, I think that you should try out for this team. And I think that you'll make it. And I was like, you're lying. I've been playing for 2 years. You guys are a lot better. And she said, if you will trust me, can you just come to this tryout? I want to play with you again. And so I went to this tryout. I ended up making this really good elite team. And I was a very young individual. And I learned that there's this whole community outside of college ultimate that I had teammates who were in their late 30s, some of them who were approaching 40s, and a lot of them were in their mid to late 20s. And I was like, I'm 21. What? Yeah. So it was this whole new world of that the Lord had opened up to me of like, this can continue, which I didn't think was going to happen after college. And again, I feel like a part of it where it kind of kept finding me of, I had hung out with some of my teammates at a house after for just a social gathering. And one of my captains, who's about 5'1", she's like super short, but I was terrified of for like my first 3 months of knowing her. Just big personality, small person, but she was like really great. And at this gathering, I started to get to know more of her story and found out that she had a very broken life. Her parents got divorced when she was in high school, and there's a lot of hurt there. She had a bad relationship with her brother, and she was just wanting to get away as fast as she could. And so after that conversation, I got in my car and I was going to drive back to my house, and I all of a sudden, like, I started weeping as I was driving, and I was like, Lord, what is this about? And I was crying so hard I had to pull off actually into a parking lot. Wow. And I started to pray, and I was just like, okay, Lord, what is this? Like, why do I feel so overwhelmed? And as I started to kind of gather myself, I realized, oh, Lord, I care about my teammates so much that I actually would do anything. I would even give my life for them to know you. Wow. Considering the hurt that I had just heard from my teammate, from other teammates that I've said, like, I would give my life for them to know your love, your redeeming tendencies. And in that moment, I felt the Lord just very gently say, like, I've already done that. And so it was this deeper call into almost like, as you were saying, the one thing that I wish I would have known is that I didn't know that this hobby was actually a mission for me. that God had called me to this community to say, actually, I want you to be present, to show them my love, to build trust with the Christian. A lot of them have a lot to say about Christians.
Yeah.
And for you to be salt and light there. And so I feel like it kind of found me, and it's become now a place of mission for me.
Yeah. Wow. That you're bringing up something that has come to my mind many times in the last few years. I grew up in an era, and we grew up in an era. Maybe you had the same experience, maybe not. I don't know. But we grew up at the same time, where for me, I felt like all the time I was
John.
same time. I was being faced with the question over and over again: would you die for Jesus? As if that was like something that I was more than likely going to, and I still could. Certainly, still might be a question I might be asked. But more often, the question that I'm asked is, will you live for Jesus? Like, will you live out the characteristics of Jesus in the community around you? And it feels like that was the invitation that, you saying, I would give my life for them to know this. And Jesus saying, actually, I already did that. What I want you to do is to live into this experience with these people, and to bring those same things that you desire for them through the way that you live. And that feels like, wow, that's a pretty powerful calling for something that feels as simple as a hobby. And that we might see a hobby as sort of like a throwaway time, or not a throwaway time, but it's like, okay, this doesn't necessarily count for anything other than it helps me like forget about work for a while. And to say, like,
it's something that dogs do. They run after frisbees. So
yeah, exactly. I wasn't speaking about your hobby in particular, Melissa. Just hobbies in general. And that, like, this can feel like maybe time that doesn't count for anything big or important. And it seems to me, we're going to talk, I want to talk about like opportunities in just a minute here. But like, or benefits, opportunities, whatever. But it does feel like, there is a bigger way to think about our hobbies. Like, yes, they can be good for our mental health. Yes, they can be good for fill in the blank thing. But to say, don't forget that these are also places where people are searching for Jesus. And what does it look like to be somebody who can guide them in the midst of doing this hobby together? A very relatable thing. So I love that that's the perspective that you're bringing with you overtly in this conversation. So I wonder, Melissa, in your experience, what are, like, just thinking realistically, especially after graduation, lots of transition, stepping into new spaces, trying to figure stuff out. Like, what are some of the challenges that come along with finding a hobby, or with helping a hobby find us, as you said, like, this thing found me? What are some of the challenges, but at the same time, what are some of the benefits that make those challenges worthwhile in your experience?
Well, I think for me, because my hobby is based on, physical fitness and whatnot, one of the biggest things is like, okay, how do I fit in film sessions? How do I fit in agility? How do I fit in weightlifting? And how do I balance those things, as well as continue to build, spiritual relationships with those around me at church and with those in small group.
Yeah.
Because it can be very easy to all of a sudden let this hobby take over my Sundays, if I wanted to take over lots of days of the week. And even now, becoming a wife and a mom, those challenges become even harder of fitting in, where can I fit in the workout, where can I fit in all these things. But all that to say is, well, and I guess another challenge is, now that I'm getting not in my 20s, like, your body can only take so much. And so it's having to listen and to really pray, like, Lord, what do I need? If you want me to still be in this space, what does my body need in order to keep healthy and to keep on pace with us happening? And I feel like with that, what are the benefits? Like, I just have so much joy. Like, when I'm around my teammates, when I'm playing, one of my favorite pieces of high level ultimate is just, you push each other to the max of, like, I mostly play defense. And so when there's an offender that does something that's just like, I feel like I'm playing really good defense, and they somehow get the disc or like lay out or do something. It's just one of those things where I'm like, how did you do that? It was so amazing. Yeah. And just the joy that brings of, like, I couldn't do anything, like, that was just fantastic.
Yeah.
And I feel like a better person. I feel like a better mom, a better wife, a better friend, because it does give me joy. It gives me a lot of, I think perspective as well of like, oh, this is important because not only has the Lord done work through this, but he's done work in and through me as I've interacted with these wonderful human beings as I, move my body. And so, the challenges definitely, I think, not the challenges, the joys.
Just give up. Never mind.
The joys outweigh the challenges.
Yes, absolutely. And it sounds like one of the big challenges, outside of, for you, again, you said this thing found me. So maybe it felt fairly easy to know this is the thing I'm going to keep leaning into because it just fits. And people keep inviting me to do it, which may not be the case for our alumni, especially if they're moving across country or something like that. That's like, boy, how do I figure out where I fit in, where that space is for me? And some of that probably just comes down to, well, what was the stuff that you really loved doing already? Are there people doing that? Well, just go join them.
Yeah.
Go join them in doing it. But the outside of that, one of the big challenges that it sounds to me like we need to keep in mind are what are appropriate limits? Like what are my physical limitations? If it's something that is physical, but also what are the time constraints? How much am I willing to invest in this? Is this something that like I want to increase in my ability as I'm doing this? Or is it just no, I really want a place that I can just sit down and unplug. And so like sort of understanding what are the limitations either of the thing or of me, and keeping those things in balance. Because it is easy for a hobby, especially if it's something that we love and that does bring us a lot of joy. It's maybe easy for us to cross over the boundaries of, this is not what the Lord has called me to as a this is not the sum total of my calling. And so I need to be careful about how much time or attention or financial investment or whatever that I'm putting into this thing. And so maintaining that balance is one of the challenges. And I do think one of the things that helps us keep an ear to that is what you're talking about for joy. Like if a hobby continues to evoke joyful experience and connection with other people, then you're probably keeping it in a healthy balance, like legitimate joy, not just moments of happiness. But if this is helping fuel your tank so that the other parts of your life are improving because you're doing this, and that they're not slowly dying painful deaths because you're doing this, then it's okay, you're probably keeping your hobby in a safe balance here. And some of those experiences of joy are probably good indicators that you're doing a good job with how you're engaging with this.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, as people say, too much, you can have too much of a good thing. And I think that's when you're coining of, I think, especially in performance-based hobbies, whether it be playing music, which you know about, playing music or some sort of athletic thing where performance is a piece, you can very easily become enslaved to it because the performance can be all that it's about. And you can get fixated on that of I made a mistake. We didn't win. I played a wrong note. I did this and that. And that's not what it's about. It's about, okay, in the midst of that, Lord, where are you still working? In the midst of that, how can I still hang on to the joy of I'm known to often laugh at myself and say things like, oh no, or oh, stupid. And it just makes my teammates giggle because I'm able to I'm not perfect. I'm usually able to let a mistake roll off my back because I know that there is a greater purpose for me in this sport, in this hobby, rather than the performance piece of it and getting enslaved to, I am what I perform and I'm not. I am a child of God. I am not my performance.
Yes. Yeah, I can identify with that as well. As you mentioned, music. My my buddy and I, a couple of years ago, we started just getting together to play music together because we had fun. It was just fun to play music with somebody, and then we started getting encouraged. You should see if you can play somewhere, one of these local restaurants or bars or something. And then all of a sudden, that has picked up steam, and we're actually experiencing some success doing this. But, early on, especially, we were having this conversation constantly of like, man, we would be getting together to play music, whether or not somebody paid us. Like if we're going to get paid to do it too, sweet.
Yeah.
But it is really easy to, especially as you start feeling some momentum, it's easy to start feeling that tension of like, oh, we got to get paid. Like, and to forget the whole, to forget the whole thing of like, we're doing this to have a good time because it does bring joy. It gives us life. And because we do think it makes us better at our jobs and better in our church communities and better with our families. And because it's just like, we have more joy in our lives. And so we get to engage more joyfully with the rest of our lives. But like you said, it is very easy for something that's, especially if it's more performative or if there's some sort of like, I'm going head to head with somebody in my hobby, that it can become all about winning or achieving as opposed to how do I use this to bring joy and to live out my life faithfully for Jesus in the presence of other people. And so it is very easy to lose sight of those things. So I mean, with those things in mind, then, Melissa, do you have a few like practical tips in your experience with this that might help people engage with balanced, life-giving hobbies after graduation? I
do. I wrote down 4 because I'm
okay. 4. I will keep count so I don't cut you off too early.
Well, I think the first one would be pursue something that you really enjoy and don't feel afraid to step out. As I said, I would not have pursued this other team had a friend of mine not been like, hey, you should. And that gave me, I think, confidence and perspective as I moved overseas and I was able to play Ultimate overseas as well of like, oh, I can get into a different team in a different place. And so if you feel like that's something that gives you joy, pursue that, even if you move after graduation and move different places. And the second thing is pray. Pray about the balance of I've experienced many mistakes as I've pursued Ultimate Frisbee. And I think just being able to pray about it of, Lord, even though this is something I desire, is this what you want? And I've actually had pushback of, even though I've wanted to be part of XYZ team, the Lord has been like, actually, it's not going to fit. And I've seen how his hand has been at work as I've pursued him, as I pursue this thing as well. Which gets into my number 3 of leave room for the Spirit to work in and through you within that. And whether that's just enjoying what you're doing, thank the Lord. Like, Lord, thanks for creating me to love music. Thanks for creating me to love video games. thanks for the joy of these things, because Joy carries us through a lot of sorrow. Joy carries us through a lot of hard things. And if we can continue to hang on to that joy and find that joy in the midst of the hardness of things, it reminds us of who God is and his goodness and kindness. And the last thing is, if you love something, find community around it. And so mine's kind of built in that it's a team sport, but I know some people are like, I really love cooking, or I really love reading. Can you join a book club? Can you join a cooking club? Because it's all about community. It's all about building relationships. And that's where the Lord might pull you into the hobby as your mission of like, actually, there's this group of people that don't know me and are really hurting and need some love and support. And I want to partner with you to be able to give that to them. Yeah. And that feels really scary and hard, but I've had, I can tell you story after story about the number of conversations I've had with my teammates around just like deeper spiritual conversations that they don't give their lives to Jesus, but they've been appreciative of like, hey, thank you for asking me that question, or thank you for investing me in that way. I haven't had that within this space, and it feels really, really sweet. Yeah. So those are awesome. My 4 things.
I love that. 4, usually it's 3, but Melissa going above and beyond. 4th item. I think that is really great. And in particular, talking to, InterVarsity alumni, there's a certain amount of like entrepreneurial nature that exists I think in our alumni, because we come from a culture of like, oh man, I wish there was a Bible study in my major or in my dorm. And it's like, go start it. Like, here's your chance to do it. And I wonder how many people might move to a space or get established in life after graduation and say, I love cooking, I love reading, but there is no group that's doing that. It's like, guess what? InterVarsity, more than likely in one way or another, has trained you how to start that. You thought it was just for Bible study. No, it's also for your cooking. It's also for this cooking club. It's also for this book club. Like,
it's a life hack.
It is a life hack. Like, being a small group leader is just like how to launch and guide people through a process. And yes, we think that Bible study in particular is like a really fabulous way to do that. But it can be applied like in so many different places. So if it isn't there, if God's put it on your heart, maybe treat that like your staff worker saying, why don't you start it? Why don't you try kicking this off? If you want it, there's probably other people locally who also want that too. And yes, so I love that. I love the idea of community. Prayer has also, for me and my buddy Harrison, has been a huge part of our hobby, engaging well with our hobby and doing, like, it feels like the spiritual work of trying to keep our hearts in check with, like, God, where do you want this to go? And will you keep us open to conversations that might happen as we're hanging out, like playing music at a bar, or like, what kind of things could happen if we have our eyes open and ready for it. And it's been pretty amazing for something that feels like, again, that could just feel like, this is just for me. This is just a hobby to keep me going and to distract me from fill in the blank thing, and to say, like, no, like, whatever it is that you're leaning into, this could and probably is an invitation from the Lord to share him with other people. So what does it look like to do that in your book club, in your cooking club, in your gaming community, whatever it might be? How do you do that well?
Yeah.
And if you don't know how, there's probably a TikTok community that does know how to do it, and you can go learn from them.
Just thinking about it.
You can go watch somebody else who's doing it and then apply those things. Yeah,
there you go. I'm sure there's some sort of online community that's there. Yeah, we're going to knit together as we are on Zoom,
Yes, Zoom knitting. There you go. If that isn't happening, it needs to be happening.
Zoom knitting.
Zoom knitting.
Why do I have a picture of a car, a knitted car? Zoom.
Super fast knitting. Melissa, as we think about all of these things you've been sharing, is there either something that you brought along that you haven't had a chance to share yet, or just a final, with regard to hobbies, a final pastoral word of encouragement, advice that you would give to an alum who is thinking about, how do I do fun things? Like, how do I spend my free time after graduation? Any parting word that you would give them?
So I came up with a really cheesy analogy.
Awesome.
So bear with me. But as I was thinking about these questions beforehand, I had this thought process of course, it's something movement based, but dance the dance with Jesus. There's a lot, if I can communicate well, of what that is, of, like, for most people, dancing is fun. And it's a joy, but it also it's an invitation to make mistakes. You might try something new with the dance, whether it's a genre or whether if it's a new trick, and you'll make mistakes. But the beautiful thing is that Jesus won't let go, and he's still holding your hand. And once you find the rhythm in it, it becomes this really beautiful partnership together. Yeah. And so that was my really cheesy analogy of, like, even if you love to dance it with Jesus. If you love to play Ultimate with Jesus. If you love to game, game with Jesus. If you love to play music with Jesus. And and be in tune with his invitation wherever it leads.
Alumni, is there a hobby that keeps tapping you on the shoulder after graduation? That opportunity that keeps showing up, that thing a friend keeps inviting you towards? Maybe it's not about committing to that hobby full send. Maybe it's just about showing up one time and giving it an opportunity to captivate you. Maybe you don't even love the activity at first. Maybe it's more about the people, the relationships, the opportunities to build trust, and as a result, the opportunities to share Jesus in a way that feels honest and organic. And you might not get it right at first. That's totally fine. Like Melissa said, dance the dance with Jesus. You'll make mistakes, you'll trip over your own feet a bit, but eventually you will find the rhythm, and you'll discover something that not only fills you up, but also provides you with casual opportunities to love Jesus and to love others. Sounds like a pretty sweet side quest to me. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us and for helping us in our side questing adventures after graduation. Alumni, come back next week for our 4th and final episode of the series where we discuss the transformational side quest of volunteering. Until then, consider sharing this episode with someone who needs to hear it, and I will see you in the after, alumni. Thanks for listening to After 4. This podcast is brought to you by the InterVarsity Alumni Relations Team, hosted and produced by John Steele, production assistance by Mike Santera, edited by Caleb Leppert, and our After 4 theme music was written and performed by John Steele.